In today's session, we will resume from where we left off yesterday. Yesterday, if we just get a very brief recap of what we did, we posed around 25 questions regarding mincha that come up on Shabbos. And we went into some of those questions without really providing any answers. It was more of an introduction. And then we began the tour in the beginning of we gave a little introduction to mincha in general, Shabbos mincha, and we began learning the Torah. Torah basically went through some of the points about mincha that we started pertaining to the laning, the Shemona Esrei, what it looks like. We discussed also if Yom Tov falls out on Shabbos. Talked about Kaddish a little bit after laning. So now we will continue and talk about something that has the end of mincha, because mincha on Shabbos is broken up into many different segments. So the Torah continues and says, "V'nohagin b'kol hamakoymos loymar shloisho psukim shel sitkaschem." Custom is to say sitkaschem. Rav Shar Shalom provides a reason for this. You have to say Siddur Kadin al Shemeis Moshe Rabbeinu Olav Shalom Ba'isasha. This is actually subject to much discussion. Moshe passed away on Shabbos. He was nifter on Shabbos. That's actually a major discussion of itself. And therefore, this is like a Siddur Kadin, special prayer that's said at the cemetery. That's what Sidkascha Tzedek is about. V'gam nahagu shaloi l'kvoya midrash bein shtei tfilos. Michshu m'chochem shemeis kol bati midrashos batelin. It's a custom not to establish an official learning time between the two tefillas of Mincha and Mariv. This is talking about at the end of Shabbos. Because Chacham Shemeis, if a wise Torah scholar passed away, Kol Bati Midrashos Batelim, you stop learning in all the yeshivas.
This week for the day.
What?
Bit for the day. No, the Gemara brings down.
Okay.
What was it?
That's supposed to be during the day the Gemara brings down.
I think the full
It's supposed to be during the day after
During the day. This is already the nighttime. Ben
Unless
Hashmashos.
you talk about just like an hour.
after mincha.
Oh. So if you look at the Torah's language is Bein Shtei Tfilos. Between the two tefillas, between Mincha and Mariv. So let's say someone davens Mincha Gedoylo at 1:30.
Yeah.
So now the guy can't learn the whole afternoon on Shabbos. It's ridiculous, right? So rather we have to properly explain and learn what the Torah is referring to when he says between the two tefillas. Furthermore, in pretty much every single shul in the world, there's something called Shalosh Shudas. So now, according to this, you can't have Torah at Shalosh Shudas. Chas v'shalom. Chas v'shalom. So what exactly does this mean when the Torah says Nahagu shaloi l'kfaya medrash? The custom is not to establish a learning session between the two tefillas. We have to figure out what that line means. Umizeh hatam gam kain, if you want something even more cryptic, hinhig Rabbeinu tam shaloi l'kfaya asuda. Rabbeinu tam didn't make a meal then.
Wow.
You're feasting for when Moshe Rabbeinu passed away. Now, obviously, how do you reconcile that with the previous simon? The simon, we're right now in simon Reish Sadi Beis 292. Okay, if you turn to the previous simon Reish Sadi Aleph, you will discover those are the halachas of Shalosh Shudas. You need a shudah for Shalosh Shudas. What is the explanation of this Rabbeinu Tam who didn't have a meal then?
Yeah, but not learning, but he's supposed to do.
Right. So what do? Sit there and you look at the wall, you watch the grass grow? Right? Number one. Number two is, you see from over here, perhaps that Rabbeinu Tam holds. You could even do Shalosh Shudas lechatchila before Mincha. We, as we learned in Hilchos Shalosh Shudas lechatchila, do it after Mincha, preferably. But anyways, something to think about over here on this tour. Okay?
It could also be you just stop at mincha earlier in the day. You have your suda earlier in the day, not before mincha.
What do you mean?
There's no gush like voam medrash bein right. So
Yeah. So
Okay, Mizahatam Gamkin. Okay, fine.
Okay. Says the Torah in the continuation, the Hemshech. V'yesh midrashim shemoichichin shaloi meis bos hashah. Some say that no, Moshe didn't die at that time. In other words, to address your question before, wait a second. When the Talmud Chacham passes, you got to stop the learning with the burial. But they say that he passed away at this precise time.
What was the precise time? Finish meshes?
Yeah. And that's why the custom is not to say Good Shabbos to people then. We'll come back to that also. Okay? New reason. Why then do we say Tzidkascha? That's for all the Rishoyim, because you got rush hour of them going back to Gehenna now at the end of Shabbos. Yeah, we learned about this already. Now that's why it's a very special time to daven as Chazan. Daven as Chazan, it's a very special time to daven as Chazan on Motzei Shabbos.
We're learning about the same sphere.
Because all the Rishoyim are going back. They're going back to Gehenna. So
When did
that's
this come
why.
up?
What'd you say?
When did this come up before?
When did we learn about this? Havdalah, right?
Well, we're talking about drinking the water. No, between
Shal Shudas came up and Havdalah, I think, and Havdalah.
I think specifically the water.
And the water also. Emergency kick. Good to know. Me too.
Oh, okay.
Okay, cool. So anyways, V'nohagin ba'ashkenaz, pay attention to this. Kishe'ein techina. What is this? Hummus and techina? What is this? No. Techina means when there's no tachnun. By Yom Rishon, if Sunday is going to be a tachnun list day, she'inoim b'shav sidkascha. Then you don't say sidkascha. In other words, not only if you're in a situation where if it would be during the week, would you not say tachnun, do you not say sidkascha during mincha and Shabbos? But even if you're not going to be saying tachnun the next day, would you not say it then? For example, Rosh Chodesh shechal yois b'yom Rishon. Let's say Rosh Chodesh falls out on Sunday. So just like if Rosh Chodesh falls out tomorrow, we would not be saying Tachnun at Mincha today. So too, you would not be saying Tzidkascha.
And that's just the Ashkenaz thing. Like Sfardim, they say it's special no matter what.
And Svardim, I don't need to worry about. I don't deal with them. Ashkenaz, I do. Maybe they do. I don't know. Maybe they don't. No. You have to ask your local Sfardi Talmud Chacham. The tour continues towards the end, and he says something. This is a very spicy section. The reason why this is so interesting is because the Shulchan Aruch doesn't mention it over here. The reason why the Shulchan Aruch doesn't mention it and the Mishnah Berurah and everything is because they talk about it in Siman Kuf Ches. It's very important. What the Torah says later. Oh no, this he says the next thing he's not going to say. Custom in the Ashkenaz location is to say Pirkei Avos during Mincha. That's what Rav Amram writes in Sfard. You say it in the morning. Should point out this whole discussion with Pirkei Avos. The recordings are already up. You could go to the Pirkei Avos playlist. And you look in the beginning where we discussed what is there. There's a custom say Pirkei Avos when? When's the minhag?
Summertime between.
Summertime?
Well, after Pesach.
After which one?
Pesach with
What?
Pesach and Shavuos.
Which one? Between Pesach and Shavuos?
Pesach
Just
and Rosh
Pesach and
Hashanah.
Shavuos, and then you stop after Shavuos?
Summertime.
Pesach and Rosh Hashanah.
Oh, till Rosh Hashanah. So which one is it?
Rosh Hashanah.
It's until Rosh Hashanah. You say it.
I think so. Yeah.
When do you start saying it?
Pesach.
Pesach.
Yep.
So you go Pesach to Rosh Hashanah. That's
I
what
think
you
that's
say.
it.
So there's really two customs. One is Pesach to Shavuos, and then another is summertime. So why? Where did that come from? That we discussed in the introduction to Pirkei Avos somewhere over there. We discussed that multiple reasons. Okay.
What's summertime mean?
Yeah. What does summertime mean exactly, and why? Why? The Torah over here says the custom is saying a mincha. It doesn't differentiate as to when. So always mincha you do it. Seems like okay. This is the interesting, spicy part of the Torah, which isn't discussed by the Mishnah Berurah Shulchan Aruch. Ta'av v'lo yispalel mincha b'Shabbos. Yeah, David, you see where it says it? You made a mistake, and you didn't daven mincha on Shabbos. What do? Well, if you didn't daven mincha at all, mispal motzei Shabbos ta'im shachol. You have to daven motzei Shabbos two tefillas. Now, which one, if you're making up a tefillah that you accidentally missed, which one is the obligatory one and which one is the makeup one? The first one.
First one's obligatory, the second
Good.
is the make.
So the first one's always the chayva. That's always the one that you have right now to do. The second one's always the makeup. So now, mavdil b'rishoino. That's why you do havdalah only in the first one. Sheyesh lahakdim oisam shezmana atov ve'ina mavdil b'shniya shehi l'tashlumin shel Shabbos. You only do havdalah in the first one because you should do the one where the time is right now. Time is right now. That's the one that you're supposed to be doing. The Eina Mabdil B'Shniyah, but you do not do Havdalah in the second one. Shehi L'Tashlumin Shel Shabbos. Because the second one is a makeup for Shabbos. So you do just Havdalah in the first one, but not the second one. Okay? Now. Bim Lo Hivdil B'Rishon. This is straight out of the playbook of the Gemara and Brachos Chavav, of course. Amud Beis, top of the Amud. Vim lo hivdil b'rishon. If you didn't see the recording, shabbat.com under the Gemara section for more details. Vim lo hivdil b'rishon. If you didn't do Havdalah in the first one, v'hivdil b'shniya, and you did Havdalah in the second one. So now, what do? You messed up. Shniya al saloi. The second one counts. That's the obligatory one, your Mariv. But the first one did not count. The cave under since you didn't do Havdalah on the first one, Gale Daise, you're revealing in your mind, you're just revealing in general, that you had in mind that the first one was going to be the makeup, Shmona Esrei, from mincha. And the second one would be the obligatory tefillah. Yeah? And you should not do first the makeup before the makeup tefillah, aka of mincha, before the obligatory one, the chayvas hazman, the one that's obligatory right now, aka mar. Consequently, v'sorech le'espalel pam shlishis. That's why you need to daven a third time. V'shvil oiso shel tashlumin. That's why you need to daven a third time for the tashlumin, for the makeup one. So therefore, what we see from over here is you have to be careful, right? And the proof is in the pudding, because the Havdalah, where you do the Havdalah, makes it completely evident of what the situation is, right? And what you really intended the entire time. Okay? Then If you did Havdalah in both of them, or you didn't do Havdalah in either one, you would fulfill your obligation. Okay. Just to point out on that last line, this is talking about you'd be good if you didn't do Havdalah in either, if you did Havdalah in both. Why? This is very simple. If you did Havdalah in both, you didn't know the halacha. You thought you were supposed to do Havdalah in both because your tashlumin is supposed to be identical, your makeup tefillah is supposed to be identical to your chova, your obligatory tefillah. Okay? Now, that's why you do Havdalah in both. You see over here in this halacha, the bidi evid, if you inserted something in Shemoyne Esrei and it wasn't supposed to be there, you would fulfill your obligation. In a case of someone who wasn't sure of this halacha, is the halacha. Okay, that's what you see, number one. Similarly, and before we go to point 3, if you didn't do Havdalah in either, you'd fulfill your obligation. Why? Because we learned together in Hilchos Havdalah, bidi eved, if you already messed up and you didn't say Havdalah in your Shemona Esrei, you don't repeat it again. Yeah, ala kos. You say Baruch Hamad Mikol Shechol. You need to drive home first, and that's it. Right? Why do we do multiple Havdalahs anyways? Why do we do it in davening? And then we do it at home. What's the point of that? Why?
At first,
For the
first they did it on the wine,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
then they got poor.
Right.
And then it's tefillah, and now they got rich, but then we said, oh, we'll keep it.
Okay, right, exactly. Right. Comes out you could be doing Havdalah 4 times. 1 in Shemona Esrei, 2 in Shul, where they have the custom to do it in Shul ala kos. 3, you say Baruch HaMavdil. 4, you do it at home. Right, we discussed all that. The point being is that you'd fulfill your obligation, still be fine. However, point 3, if you had in mind that the first one is going to be Tashlumin, and you did Havdalah in both, or you didn't have do Havdalah in either, then you wouldn't fulfill your obligation. You have to have an explicit intent that the first one is the obligation. Okay? Okay. Question is, let's say you didn't have any intention at all. Do we assume the better, aka that the first one is the chayvan, the second one is the tashlumin, or do we assume the worse?
And we assume the best. That's what we said.
Who did you say that? He wasn't talking about what your intention was.
Oh, lo hivdil b'shematcha.
He wasn't talking about your intention. He was just saying a blanket statement. Maybe he's only referring to that you had the proper intention, but you didn't know the halacha. You thought that the Havdalah wasn't supposed to be in either, or you thought it was going to be in both. So the answer to that question will be discussed in Siman Kov Ches, towards the end of the Siman. So I have to get there. Now, and we really have to get there because I have to write up all my notes. I've got like thousands of pages of notes waited to being written up over there. That's really, I know the best. Chelik Aleph Mishnah Berurah. Right, right. Especially Hilchos Shema and Shemona Esrei, and you know, I know the whole Chelik very well. That's I know the best, especially Hilchos Shemona Esrei. But the Torah continues and says, "Wait a second." Everything that we just discussed has absolutely nothing to do with the Shiloh that we presented in the introduction yesterday. Bahani Mila is talking about B'Tovelo is Pal Mincha Kal. Is talking about you made a mistake, you didn't dive in Mincha at all. But now here's where it gets extra spicy. So be careful. Make sure you have water ready to drink. Aval im Tov his Palul Shmoyne Esrei Brachos. Say a person on Shabbos Mincha. Dive in the weekday Shemona Esrei. The guy was spacing out. He did weekday Shemona Esrei. Does he fulfill his obligation?
No.
We have a
No?
problem because we didn't mention Shabbos.
You didn't mention Shabbos. Okay. So you're both machmir. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, isn't you're both machmir. Okay. Does it make a difference if it's still Shabbos and he realized right after he davened, or if it's after Shabbos? But regardless, he has to make up the Shemona Esrei. He has to do it again. On Shabbos, he has to do it again. After Shabbos, he also has to do it again.
I would think both cases he has to do
He has to do it again. So, okay. So if he's doing it again after Shabbos, what's he gaining? He messed up by saying the weekday Shemona Esrei on Shabbos, and now his tashlumin after Shabbos is going to be a weekday Shemona Esrei because it parallels the obligatory Shemona Esrei.
because at the time it didn't count for him.
Oh, it didn't count for anything. So now after Shabbos is going to count. The guy's literally doing the same thing.
He was out of bounds when he took the shot. It may have gone in, but it doesn't count.
Says the out of bounds. Says the Torah. Honey Mile Betovelo is Pal Mincha. This is talking about if you made a mistake and you didn't have a mincha. About it was one after I think it was last week's session. I think it was Erev Shulas or something. He called me up, or he said after we were learning, he said maybe I should just sit and learn all day. I just enjoy the Torah Hakadosh just so much in the morning. Look at this guy. Look at David. Look at him.
What did he say? What happened?
I said, you said after the learning session we had last week, maybe I should just stop working, learn all day. I love the Torah so much that we do over here. Right?
Hold on. Wait. Tell me about it.
I'm not repeating that a third time. Aval im tov is valel. You go back to the recording, David. Aval im tov is.
Hold on, sorry, you got it.
All right.
Hold on a second.
Hold on. Here.
All right.
Aval im tov is valel Shemona Esrei Brachos. But let's say you made a mistake. That now he knows he got muted. Aval im tov is valel if you made a mistake. Oh, now we have his undivided attention. David, I said last week, you
Right.
said a statement. You said, I really enjoy this learning thing. Oh, no, you got the static show. Do you hear us, David?
What? No, what learning, what happened?
I said last
All
week, you said
after
you
what
enjoyed the
happened?
learning so much that maybe you're going to stop working. You're going to learn full time. You're going to come every day in the morning.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I, well, I haven't seen that yet.
To the million on the hour call.
yeah, but the thing with the duchening over there. Nah, you would daven before. Daven wakes up very early. So what time you wake up now? 6:30?
I try to wake up, before I try to wake up at 5:45, maybe. I don't know.
4 to 6? Yeah. I told you.
That's all.
It's
That's not so
amazing
early.
because not today, but the last 2 days I went to Vasikin. So now the sunrise is 5:30 in the morning. No, not here at Shari. So the sunrise is 5:30. You're out of there like, 5:45. So it's amazing when you go to a 7 o'clock minyan, like this morning I went to 7 o'clock. Your day just starts so much later. Because you're not home till close to 7:45. You're home 2 hours later. It's a crazy thing how much you could get done when you're waking up in the fours now.
Mm.
Just
No, I know. It's pretty impressive. Like
it is a
davening.
long day. The Torah continues and says, Hani mila b'tov v'los pal mincha. This is talking about if you made a mistake, you didn't have mincha at all. Bal him ta'ov is palo shmoina esrei brachos. But if you made a mistake and you daven shmoina esrei brachos, you daven the weekday shmoina esrei over there, yeah? Hello, when you didn't. His shel Shabbos, he didn't mention Shabbos. Kosav Rabbeinu Yehuda. Afa pishla yotza boisatilo. Even though you don't fulfill your obligation with that Shemona Esrei, vilu nizkar mevoy joim hayisarchlis pal shavar brachas. If you remembered when it was still Shabbos, you have to go back and daven again. So good job, guys. You got the right answer. Afilu hachi even so lo yispal motzei Shabbos time. Don't daven two motzei Shabbos. Kevan shekvaras palo shmona esrei brachos, because you already said the 18 brachos, 19. So what are you going to gain by repeating again? However, v'chachmi provincio hayoimim kevan shloyazidi chavas so tvilo havikilo is pal v'sarchel is pal time lever. But the chachmi provincio, the scholars of provincia, they would say no, you didn't fulfill your obligation of the shmona esrei at that time. And Shabbos, as if you didn't daven at all, and therefore you need to daven two motzei Shabbos. Which is what you were saying. How do we hold the cost of Adoni Harosh Zal V'Adover Muchur Lakach? Seems like the halacha is this way that you would need to do two Motzei Shabbos. Haya Oimer Yoina Mena Yoina Shanachon Laseis Yedei Safik L'Spalo Oizel Erbetoris and Dava. That's why he says that you should daven the one Motzei Shabbos as an adava, a voluntary Shmoyne Esrei. Come back to a minute what that means. You don't need to make something new in there. We'll come back to what that means. Since you're davening, that's when I say there's a doubt to get out of a doubt. There's no greater insight than this. What is going on here? Very simple. According to the Chatmi Provincial, you have to go back. According to the Rabbeinu Yonah, within that opinion, when it says you have to go back Motzei Shabbos and do two, that means that you should do it not necessarily as a full-fledged tashlumin. Rather, it should be tashlumin, which is also an adava. What does an adava mean? This is a new category. It means a voluntary Shemona Esrei. A person, he just wants to daven Shemona Esrei to get closer to Hashem. The problem is nowadays, in Siman Kuf Zayin, the Torah, others is discussed over there in depth, we don't really do these voluntary Shemona Esreis anymore. Why? Very simple. The reason being because, exactly, we're not going to have the proper focus. We don't really do it. They discuss a Tanai Nedava. I don't know if you ever learned Tashlumin at all.
Yeah.
You did? Okay, good. What, from the Gemara?
I think also now halacha, the
Good.
9 and dove.
Okay, so you have a Tanai Nedava.
The Talmud doesn't work on Shabbos.
Right.
Never have to give it
Very good.
Shabbos.
Okay. So you're basically saying like this: if I am obligated to make up the Shemona Esrei, then it's going to count as a makeup. If not, then it's going to count as a voluntary. There's certain situations, such as this one, when really you hold from the letter of the law, technically you should go back, but some say that you shouldn't go back and do the makeup. Therefore, you would do a T'nai Nedava. So that's basically what would happen. No Havdalah in the second one, of course, in the makeup. So that's the discussion with the Havdalah and the mincha. Things get interesting. For example, let's say again, these are well, this following question is probably one of the trickier and more complex areas of the halachas of Tashlumin, which I would say the halachas of Tashlumin are probably one of the more complex areas of the halachas of Shemona Esrei. But let's say you have Rosh Chodesh that falls out after Shabbos. So if you're following the whole chain of events, the story is like this. You messed up on mincha, you didn't have a mincha Shabbos, Shemona Esrei. You daven the weekday Shemona Esrei, okay? It's after Shabbos. You have a discussion about what to do. Some say you just don't go back. That was Rabbi Yehuda. Chachmi Provincia say you do go back. Rabbeinu Yonah within that says you would do the nedava, the voluntary. Maybe you would do a tanai nedava. So it comes out that it's going to look like this. It's going to look like on a regular week, regular Shemona Esrei that you're going to do Mariv with Havdalah. Second one will be without Havdalah. You're going to have a condition that maybe it will be a voluntary Shemona Esrei, maybe it will be a makeup Shemona Esrei. Question is, let's say it's Rosh Chodesh, so you have Ya'alav Yavo. So for sure in your first Shemona Esrei, you're going to be saying Havdalah and you're going to be saying Ya'alav Yavo. The question is, what about the second Shemona Esrei? Second Shemona Esrei, it's at a time when there is Ya'alav Yavo. But wait a second, if you're going to say Ya'alav Yavo, so then it's right? Maybe it's not a makeup at all. So all of these things get tricky. Similarly, I just ask the questions because I know they exist. If a person, it's a classic Tashlumin question. If a person left out Ya'alav Yavo on Rosh Chodesh, and he realized after Rosh Chodesh that he left out Ya'alav Yavo, do you go back and do Tashlumin on it? Because if you're going to do Tashlumin, how could you say Ya'alav Yavo? It's not Rosh Chodesh anymore. Right? Or even if you just left out your mincha and Rosh Chodesh completely. So now, would you do Tashlumin after Rosh Chodesh? You have to do Tashlumin, right?
Mm-hmm.
How does Ya'alav Yavo work?
It works the same way we took the Shabbos notion.
So we would go back and not do Ya'alav Yavo.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, what's the story over there? So all of these shilas come up. This is basically the Torah. The Mishnah Berurah Shulchan Aruch doesn't discuss this. That's the Torah. The layout of the Shulchan Aruch is pretty small. Okay, this is what it looks like. The Shulchan Aruch begins this simon by saying, "The mincha on mincha the Rama adds oimrim ashrei uval tzion v'anis filasi." You say ashrei uval tzion and v'anis filasi. Looks like David's walking to Farakoi. Umotzion sefer Torah, and you bring a sefer Torah. What?
I'm walking to my car. I have to move it. You can move the car on Tuesday, not a big deal, but yeah.
What's on its side?
What? I was gonna say,
You
yeah.
just tell them that you're a member of the morning Chabura, and they'll just let
No
you
tickets.
park wherever you want. No tickets. That's it.
I put that on my window. I don't know if that's
Yeah,
gonna
just
work.
put down member of morning Chabura.
Maybe
Many
yesterday.
Many
That would work.
years.
That would have worked yesterday.
Yeah. Umoitzi and Sefer Torah, v'koyden shloisha anashim. So you take out a Sefer Torah, and three people they literally it says they read from it because it used to be that the person who would get called up would read from the Torah. Three Elias. So our psukim ten psukim a parsha above for the up and coming parsha. Filu chal yom tov leos v'Shabbos koyden beparsha above v'loy b'shal yom tov. And even if Yom Tov falls out on Shabbos, we read the next parsha, not the Yom Tov parsha. Okay.
Right.
Question
Wait, so-
is, this va'anis sefilasi. Let's say you don't have a sefer Torah. Would you still say it? I bet you most people would say you would still say it. You would not say it. Excuse me. You sefer Torah, right?
What's its connection?
Part of Vayhi ben Sarah, right?
But what's its connection to, why would I think that
That's where it is. It's right there before we take out the Torah, right?
Understood.
Right, so it's it. So the Magen Avram says otherwise. Magen Avram says, mincha on Yom Tov, you would not say it, because you don't read from the Torah. But it's after the Makom Shein Sefer Torah, ain't myself. It's possible in a place where you don't have a Sefer Torah, I think he's going to Shabbos now, you would not say it. He's not definitive. Because, right, because who says you need a Torah? Right? Maybe it's only at a time when it's fitting to read from the Torah, it's just that you don't have it. Okay? That is Sif Aleph. The Magen Avram, the next one says you don't say Kaddish on the Torah because there's no interruption. You're about to say Kaddish before your Shemona Esrei, and therefore there's no interruption. Okay? And even he wants to say a mincha on a fast, where a person would be doing the Haftarah. Nevertheless, there's no interruption. The Haftarah is not a hefsek, and you would not say Kaddish. That's what the Lechuti Pardes writes, that the Kaddish before Shemona Esrei refers to the actual laning. Even though even though you have an interruption between the laning to the Kaddish, until you do Galila, you put away the Sefer Torah, it's not a hefsek. To Siyuma Arichtahi, it's considered one lengthy completion, so to say. Siyuma Arichta. It's also implied from the Lush this way. B'chein had Rivosh. Actually, I have the set of Shalos and Chuvas. Rivosh, it comes in the nice Rishonim at the black set. It's like 15 volumes. You've probably seen it. If there's no Torah, then you do not say Kaddish before Shemona Esrei. Meaning the second Kaddish. You say Kaddish another time. You just say Kaddish after right. Venirali shelo yoimnu gamkin vanis filasi. Here it is. You would not say vanis filasi. It's the Rivash. You don't interrupt between Uvalatzion and Ashrei and Shemona Esrei. Right? So if you don't have a Sefer Torah, the tefillah is going to be looking like this according to the Rivash. Ashrei Uvalatzion Kaddish, boom, Shemona Esrei. Okay? Okay, you don't want to interrupt. You don't say any tefillah. Okay. The pasuk has lo chashav hesek. Oh, so okay. Ve'ein lomer, and don't say that you should say vanis filasi and say kaddish on that. The pasuk echad lo chashav hefsek. One pasuk is not considered an interruption. Okay. Saying don't say that. Midi dahavi yahalalu, similar to yahalalu or yomru kodim kaddish, or you say it before kaddish. Could be you would say vanis filasi, but it'll be after Uvalatzion and before that Kaddish. Then you do Kaddish and you jump into Shemona Esrei. Chein Kasav Sitter, Marina Rav Hertz. Never start a Shemona Esrei without saying Kaddish before. Well, Shachris, you say Kaddish before your Shabbat. But after your Shabbat, excuse me. Right, so you still have some sort of Kaddish there. The reason why the Kaddish isn't right before Smichas Gula Tefillah, we do it. If we say Kaddish before, Smichas Gula Tefillah is stronger in the morning. That's an interesting discussion. Furthermore, Mariv, you didn't have one before. Well, Nusach Sfard, they do it before Baruch Hu. So just like in the morning, we do it before Baruch Hu. So to there, okay, there's what to discuss there in terms of why we don't. It's definitely what to chew on there on that topic. Now we're already thinking very nicely. Okay, so this is the opening Magen Avram. The Shekel. Okay, the Machas is a shekel. It's called Vu al pi masha kosav atur tamamiras v'ani. Vu al pi amidrash amar davar malch avishal mataj shem roi ma'abei min Yisrael lumas oil lumas oil lumas v'shoyis v'chochlim v'chochlim al Yisrael av pi shach v'shos v'yom tov v'shabbos v'kol malchim maniti los v'alzo kosav v'yom tov shein korin b'torah mimyam v'ani deloy shayach tam midrash v'hekshel lavosh deloy nitzker pasuk kriyas atorah ki im tefillah. Okay, you only have in the pasuk
I would think Adra definitely had that. You know, to be
Tefillah.
drinking.
who gam b'yom tov mispal in mincha. Vayin shamash ater to bach. Bedochet terutzoy. Bakasel yashiv the eis rotzen dichtiv b'hai kra. Or to learn also ishu eis rotzen in the Hashem. After they say mincha is the time of eis rotzen. I don't even know how to translate that. It's an auspicious time. As whom is parallel. Afal pisha achal v'shasa. And he's still davening even though he didn't drink. Shas mat Torah hay eis rotzen gomer of the Hashem. Shezachal kol echav echem Yisrael. The nevu upon el ponim v'nis vasis ha'olam. Whenever we read from the Torah, we are bringing back those memories, actualizing what happened then. That's why on Shabbos it's a time of Eis Ratzon. Unlike Yom Tov, where we don't read from the Torah, and therefore it's not an Eis Ratzon. That's why you would not say an Eis Tefillah.
Yeah. According to this reason, you know.
Yeah. Okay, did we see this? I'm gonna from. Okay. All right. So let's pick this up from tomorrow,
Okay.
and we'll continue our quest through Hilchos Mincha. Yeah,
Okay.
it's good. It's good stuff.
Sure.
Yeah. All
I'm
right,
gonna
yeah.
go to